Hey guys, at our old Japanese farmhouse, probably there is a small chance that we could have damage from a typhoon or by a severe cold event where we get heavy snowfall. Obviously, though, our higher risk is from the Nankai Trough and the resulting Tokai earthquake, which they reckon is something like an 80% chance of happening in the next 20 years, so it could happen any minute. They reckon it's going to be really severe. They estimate tens of thousands of people could die. So if that happens, obviously it's difficult to plan for what we'd be faced with. So probably the worst case scenario, of course, is our house collapses and the other two outbuildings collapse, and or the government gives us a compulsory evacuation order. So our chances of problems from a tsunami are very low because of where we are and because we're 12 meters above sea level. And because of the location, they think that a big tsunami in our area is unlikely. So the bigger event is likely to be either the buildings collapse or the government tells us we have to evacuate. So in that case, we have prepared a backpack and a cart on wheels. So the backpack contains just clothes and towels and things that they won't have at the evacuation centres. So the evacuation centre is very organised, so they've got food and they've got everything else. But just things like clothes and towels and our own personal stuff. And also we have got some food and water. Even though they'll have it at the evacuation centre, we figure it doesn't hurt to have it. So little old lady's shopping cart type thing there on wheels. So usually in Japan, if you have to evacuate, you'll go to a place like this, which is just a big sports hall, and then they put up these cardboard rooms. And after disasters, we often see people living in these places on television, and it doesn't look good. And quite often, months or even years after an event, people will still be living like that. So we really want to avoid that if it's possible, of course. So our thinking is whatever we can do to make it more likely that we can stay in our house is worth doing. So there's a few things that we've got to our advantage. One is our well. Some of you guys would have seen videos we made down the well. It's 12 meters down to the water, and then it's a couple of meters deep. And so we've got ropes and buckets. We could have an endless supply of water from the well, so water wouldn't be a problem. It comes out really clean. We'd probably boil it anyway, but it is really clean. We've also got a 300 litre rain water tank. If it's still standing, of course, after a big earthquake, that could be lying broken on the ground, but it could still be standing. This little funny little thing, it's a little inverter. So it'll produce from a car, plug it into the car cigarette lighter, and it produces 100 volts and up to 120 watts. So that could power some small things in our house, which would be useful. We'd much rather a big inverter generator, but they're about $1,000 for one that'd do the job. So can't really justify that. That's sort of in our wish list. But if we plug this thing here into that inverter, that's our gas hot water, which means if we still have a water supply from the street, if we do, our big gas bottles here can last for 2 or 3 weeks. Probably if we really rationed it out, it could last 4 weeks or so, and that would give us hot water, providing, of course, we had running water from the street. Also, our gas stove doesn't need electricity at all. So if the pipes to the gas bottles are still okay, we'd have a gas stove, so we'd be able to boil water and cook food. So we also have kerosene stoves, and they use electricity to start and to operate their controls, but they're very low wattage. So again, we could use that converter. We'd really like to have the inverter generator. We could do all of it. That's 60 litres of kerosene there. So if it was the middle of winter and really, really cold, those stoves would be fabulous for keeping us warm. Also, we can go a bit more primitive. We've got our barbecue. And the old farmhouse has loads of wood that we could burn. We could probably do 3 hot meals a day for weeks on the barbecue because we've got all that wood and there's lots of other wood in the other back building as well. So endless supply of old wood. So it's hard to plan for these things because you don't know how bad the damage is going to be. We decided we wanted to have a little store box to put things in. And there's this old cupboard out in this room that doesn't get used for anything. So we got the unskilled furniture store onto it. Our thinking is just want one place to put some of these things. So we've got another little gas stove that's quite popular in Japan. Little gas stove, single burner, that has these little bottles, like a big pressure can, and we've got about 5 or 6 of those cans of gas. So that's a portable little stove that'd be quite useful. Oh yeah, the box of handles and hinges. Sort of remembered there was the handle. I thought there was a pair of handles, but there was only one, but that'll do. So it's difficult to plan for these things because you don't know what's coming. I mean, we could have a severe snow event where we just lose electricity and everything else is okay. We could just lose electricity and water. In a big earthquake, we could lose the main building and still have another building standing because we've got 3 buildings there. In a severe event, we could lose all 3 buildings. So it's really difficult to plan. So the thinking was just to sort of give us one more possibility, just take this old cupboard and make it a little bit more respectable. That's a sealer there. It's really good. Been using that sealer just about everywhere, anywhere I start with bare wood. And it's sort of like milk. It's really quite thin, but it sticks. It sticks really well. And then when you paint over the top of it the next day, give it a day to dry. And it works really well. We've been using that all over the place. So, just a little storage box. So if you look at the main house, see the roof on the top and the big ridge, the tiles, really, really heavy. And usually that's the downfall. That building's the same. Those tiles are really super heavy and they're on a wooden frame, which means when the building sways from side to side, the weight of the roof is what collapses the house. And we see that all the time in earthquakes in Japan. Whole towns of old houses collapsed. But that building has a tin roof. And the way it's put together, it is actually really strong. So the best chance of those 3 buildings, the best chance to survive is this one. So for that reason, put this cupboard in here. We put some gas stoves in there. We put that little inverter in there. So the dream of the inverter generator, $1,000 would buy us an inverter generator that would power the whole house. Just need to keep a few gallons of gasoline for it, which we could do. But in the meantime, that's our preparation. Anyway, that was that. More videos coming soon.